Million naira allocation was inadequate and that the agency is grossly underfunded. He further promised that the committee will intensify its oversight functions with the aim of strengthening the Bureau to build a sustained and efficient procurement system that meets international best practices. In his response, the Director Bureau of Public Procurement, Mamman Ahmad, said that only 49% of its 2022 budget had so far been released to the Bureau. Nigeria Police Force has confirmed the death of the traditional ruler of Obidi Agwa in Okuta local government area of Imo State, Eze Ignatius Asor, and two of his aides who were shot by suspected Biafran separatists. The State Police Public Relations Officer, that is the PPRO, Mike Abatam, confirmed the incident to newsmen. Reports show that gunmen visited the palace in Oguta under the guise of reporting an emergency situation before opening fire. Authorities confirmed that the gunmen also attacked the office of a community vigilance group as they fled, killing at least one person and stealing 3 motorbikes. The secessionist group, Indigenous People of Biafra, that is IPOB, which police blame for the killing, is yet to comment. Lecturers in various parts of the country on Tuesday raged protest against the no work, no pay policy imposed on them by the federal government of Nigeria, following the 8-month strike embarked upon by the Academic Staff Union of Universities, that is the ASU. Speaking after the rally, the branch chairman, Dele Ashiru, said Ngige had instigated the government against ASU. The aggrieved lecturers held a big banner and placards with inscriptions that included Ngige, be mindful of history, ASU will outlive you. Teachers teach the nation, but Ngige cheats the teachers. No work, no pay, and prorated salaries are punitive measures against renegotiated agreements, among others.
October salaries of our members were paid. We discovered that they were prorated. And we thought that this is a novel action in the annals of industrial relations, not only in Nigeria, but all over the world. Particularly the attempt at casualization of intellectuals in Nigeria. Before another crisis erupts in the Nigerian university system, we are drawing, the attention of Nigerians to this very insensitive act by government. And that is the reason.
When we return, news from other parts of West Africa. Stay with us. Welcome back and thank you for staying with us. Now to news from other parts of West Africa. Côte d'Ivoire has announced the gradual withdrawal of its troops from the United Nations, that is UN peacekeeping mission in Mali by August 2023, a decision that comes against a backdrop of diplomatic tensions between Abidjan and Bamako for several months. Official reason is yet to be given for this withdrawal, but relations between Côte d'Ivoire and the UN have become considerably strained in recent months, particularly after the arrest of 49 Ivorian soldiers in Bamako last July. The Ivorian government's announcement comes a day after Britain said it would withdraw its contingent sooner than expected. Mali has been facing recurrent jihadist attacks since 2012 and is in the midst of a deep crisis and political crisis. Regional actors have been scheduled to meet next week in Ghana to coordinate their response to the instability in the Sahel region. And now to Sierra Leone, where the parliament has approved legislation that will ensure that 1 in 3 of its members and 1/3 of all local councillors are women. The bill will now go to the President, Julio Bell, to be signed into law. Despite it being a key promise in his 2018 election campaign, it took 3 years for Cabinet to approve the draft. An earlier version was withdrawn over technicality. Currently, only 19 of Sierra Leone's 146 members of parliament are women. We move to other parts of Africa after this break. Stay with us. Now to news from other parts of Africa. A residential building under construction has collapsed on Tuesday in Kenya's capital, Nairobi. Construction workers are fear trapped under the rubble and rescue operations have begun. According to eyewitnesses, some people who were injured during the collapse are being treated in a nearby hospital. An audit by the National Construction Authority found that 58% of the buildings in Nairobi were unfit for living. In 2015, 8 buildings collapsed in Kenya, killing 15 people. Building collapses are said to be common in Nairobi, where housing is in high demand and unscrupulous developers often bypass regulations. Meanwhile, the second batch of Kenyan troops is due to arrive in the Democratic Republic of Congo today. They are part of a regional force deployed for a peacekeeping mission in the east of the country. Armed groups have stepped up attacks in recent months, raising concern about the threats they pose to the region's security. More than 900 Kenyan troops will be based near the town of Goma in the volatile region. Burundi soldiers have been operating in South Kivu province since August. The Kenyan troops will be in North Kivu province, where the M23 rebels have seized more territory in recent months and displaced thousands of people. The Congolese government is set to resume talks with representatives of various armed groups later this month in the Kenyan capital, Nairobi. Ugandan President Yoweri Museveni has assured foreign visitors that the Ebola outbreak in the East African nation will be brought under control. In his address to the country on Tuesday, the president noted that the foreign tourists were cancelling bookings and international conferences had been cancelled or moved to other countries. He said the epidemic was localized with active cases in just 6 out of the 146 districts across the country. Some 141 cases with 55 deaths have been recorded since the outbreak was confirmed in September. The president said the progress had been controlling the epidemic. Motorcycle taxis known as Boda Boda were defying lockdown rules in the affected areas and transporting passengers instead of only cargoes. Even though the epidemic has spread to districts far from the epicenter in the central region, Ugandan officials seem confident that the outbreak can be controlled before it spreads. Up next on Africa Today is business news. Stay with us. On business news, the Minister of Finance, Budget and National Planning, Zainab Ahmed, has made it known that the federal government will cancel petroleum subsidy by June 2023. Ahmed said this on Tuesday in Abuja during a press conference to mark the end of the 28th National Economic Summit. Reports show that the full subsidy gulped 2.565 trillion naira between January and August 2022. Also, in the medium-term expenditure framework, the federal government proposed to spend 3.3 trillion naira on fuel subsidy between January and June 2023. According to Ahmed, removal of fuel subsidy is part of the FG's medium-term plan in the budget. She, however, said that the challenge was how to go about removing the subsidy. Alliance for Green Infrastructure in Africa, that is AGIA, have projected $500 million for project preparation and development, which will be then leveraged into a $10 billion fund to help African states build climate-resilient infrastructure. The initiative will focus on impactful projects featuring greater cooperation between governments and private sector actors on a 3 to 6 year timescale. Speaking at the launch event at COP27, the crucial Global Climate Conference in Sharm el-Sheikh, Egypt, Akinwumi Adesina, president of the Africa Development Bank, urged that the fund will not duplicate existing initiatives but will instead focus on untapped green investment with significant potential. According to the report, out of the $623 billion of green bonds issued in 2021, Africa accounted for just 0.26%, the lowest share of all regions of the world. Africa also accounted for just 1.9% of all green loans in 2021 and 1% of global issuances of sustainability bonds and sustainability-linked loans and bonds, according to the bank. He said governments have become critical in the roles to promote green infrastructure investment in Africa in order to create a conducive environment for private green sector finance investments. Government will also need to establish domestic green banks and national climate funds. Still to come on Africa Today is Sports News with Richard Baden. Stay with us.
Good afternoon and welcome to Sport News on Africa Today. I am Richard Badung. On the news, ahead of the international friendly game against Portugal on Thursday, Super Eagles head coach Jose Peseiro has revealed that the team's goal as they face the star-studded side that will be led by Manchester United Cristiano Ronaldo is to get a win. In an interview with the Lisbon-based radio station in Portugal, Peseiro said the Eagles' attempts to dominate possession of the game as they also will try to win the encounter. The three-time African champions will have or have failed to win any of their last 11 friendlies, but they will also hope to end the unwanted record when they face the Euro 2016 champions at Estadio Zé Alvalade in Lisbon. Also speaking ahead of the much-anticipated game, the 62-year-old tactician said his plan was to ensure that they don't lose with a wide margin. In a similar development, Nigeria striker Victor Osimhen will miss out of the friendly due to injury, according to a statement that was published on Napoli's website. Confederation of African Football, that is CAF, has postponed the group stage draws for the Champions League and CAF Confederations Cup. The group stage draws for both interclub competitions was initially slated for today, but the body announced via its website on Tuesday that the event had been postponed. With the recent development, it means Nigerian Professional Football League side Rivers United will wait a little while for the anticipated draw for the Confederation Cup. Rivers United is in the running for the second-tier competition with 15 other clubs from Africa. Meanwhile, Senegalese forward Sadio Mane will miss Senegal's first games at the World Cup because of a leg injury. An official from the country's football federation made this known. The Bayern Munich forward was named in the Teranga Lions squad for Qatar, despite being first off in a club game last week. The German champion said the 30-year-old had an injury to his right fibula, but Senegal coach Aliou Cisse said Mane does not need an operation. The West Africans begin their Group A campaign against the Netherlands on Monday, with games against host Qatar on 25th November and Ecuador on 29 November to follow. Mane is Senegal's talisman, having scored the winning penalty when the Teranga Lions became African champions for the first time in February, defeating Egypt in a shootout in the Africa Cup of Nations final. And that's your sport news on Africa today. Back to Ainan Lubem for the rest of the news. I am Richard Badung. Thank you. Now,
welcome back and thank you for staying with us. And now to the rest of the bulletin. The Nigeria Police Force FCT command has cleared the air on the real cause of the death of Modade Lawal, a 6-year-old girl who died in a school in Abuja. According to DSP Josephine Ade, PPRO FCT Police Command, in a statement released to the press and seen by Boss FM 95.5 Abuja, investigation so far has revealed that she did not die by drowning, but as a result of food aspiration asphyxia. The statement also enjoins members of the public to also remain calm, stressing that it is worthy of note that the deceased has been buried by the family and a discreet investigation continues. She also assured that the subsequent development will be communicated. And that's Africa Today, but before we go, here are the top stories once again. Earlier we told you ASU protest half salary payment. Ivory Coast authorities to pull peacekeepers from Mali. Second batch of Kenyan troops leave for DR Congo, while in sports, CAF postpones interclub group stage draws. Remember to visit us on Facebook, Instagram and YouTube channel at Hills TV. I am Ainan Lubem. Thank you for watching.